Yeah, we're live. Could you perhaps just confirm that?
Sure. Yes, we are.
Awesome. Okay, well, a warm welcome to the last build working group meeting, the Node.js build working group meeting of 2016. With me today, I have Joao, and that's about it. We're only two today, but you know, we obviously are the most important guys in the build group, so that's what it is. Anyway, I guess we should just start in a normal fashion with a stand-up. And I just want to notice as well that we actually haven't had a meeting in a while. It's almost been 2 months. I think a lot of us in the build group has been active, though. It's a bit sad that they're not around, so we can get more info in the stand-up. But I guess, actually, do you want to start, Joao?
With the first issue?
Yeah, I was thinking we could just do a stand-up before we get going with the issues. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been working with Microsoft to get the Node Track Record nightlies released. I finished that 2 weeks ago, so we have nightly every day now, and the work that's being done in Node Track Record can be tested easily now. I think that's it for stand-up. John?
Yeah, I know you've been doing some work on just general CI as well. Okay, anyway, I think the biggest items I've been doing is we were running out of space on the backup hosts. I randomly logged in. I don't know why. I kind of look around every now and then. We were at like 95% allocated, and the main reason for the quicker growth, because when I initially storage, we had roughly a year in the current growth, but since we've had such an increase of number of jobs run daily at our CI, we've started to accumulate a lot of more space. So what I did was just basically redeploy from 1.5 terabyte image over at Joyent to a 4 terabyte image. So we should have enough space now to keep with our snapshot rotation, which is 6 months, 4 weeks, and 7 days. No, 14 days. One thing we actually need to do here is create alerts for things like disk space and CPU and similar on critical services, because CI can also get pretty close if we are super busy. I also did some work with regards to the downtime we had a week and a half ago. So the Node.js main host at DigitalOcean was experiencing network related issues. And I was working pretty closely together with the DigitalOcean support in order to resolve it. We had roughly 4 to 5 hours of perhaps not downtime, but like very intermittent issues. And for most users, they couldn't be downloaded. And this has pretty severe ramifications because you have Node.js, which downloads headers or tarball. You have Travis, you have all kinds of infrastructure that rely on downloading Node.js as part of their workflow. So it was really getting pretty heated at the end of the run, but we managed to get back to normal pretty quickly. There was no loss of data, there was no issues with that. It was purely network related. As a result, we brought up the discussion of fronting all downloads with Cloudflare, and it's still dependent on us because we rely on getting the logs for doing statistics. So we need to write the log parser from fetching logs and parsing logs from Cloudflare before we can make that happen. We should also look at improving our resiliency. So we should, for instance, use the unencrypted host, which mirrors the node.js host as another mirror, and try to redirect traffic from Cloudflare if our main mirror goes down. I've been doing some minor work in the refactor as always. I'm going to have more time over Christmas. So the idea is to try to get it into a real shape then. And I've also, more importantly, been doing continuous work on the tab2j unit Python script, which aims to help us with growing pains of Jenkins. Since we upgraded Jenkins to Jenkins 2, we've had a much better quality of life, I would say. But there's still a lot of 504s or 503s if you go into a specific job like ARM Fan or Windows, where you have a lot of build history. So getting this into production is a really high priority of mine, and will hopefully solve all the problems we have with Jenkins. Not all, but a few. And the reason it's not really out is because I'm just trying to finish full Debian 7 support in our Ansible scripting, which, yeah, I have some problems with init script. So if anyone likes working with Debian 7 init scripts, which is like some old flavor of sysvinit, feel free to ping me. Finally, I've been doing some work on like the Jenkins jobs we have in terms of reporting to the GitHub bot. Like, it's very error prone because there's so many scenarios where you have the matrix jobs, you have the fan jobs, and you have the multi-jobs, and all of them have like different branching. So getting that to work flawlessly is yeah, it's kind of a constant work in progress. But if you see any jobs in GitHub that says that 9 out of 10 bots are finished, but the last one is still work in progress, just notify the build group, because that's probably one of those jobs that needs to be fixed. So yeah, that's me. And since there's no one else here,
Miles joined.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. Miles,
hey.
are you there? Hey.
Oh, hey, man.
How's it going?
Good, you?
Going well, thank you.
Awesome. Good, so now we're 3. We were just running through the stand-up, so do you have anything you want to add?
I think, well, it's been a minute since we've had any meetings. Since then, we now have a team of about 5 different people on Canary in the Gold Mine now. It's been moving forward pretty quickly. There's some work going on right now about parallelization that, it's getting pretty close to being able to land, which should, free up some resources on the machine since everything will go faster. Did you all talk about the installer at all while I was gone?
Not really. We haven't had too many build groups meetings.
Oh, well, I just meant today.
No.
There was a meeting at Interactive with a group of people talking about like alternatives for the installer and solutions moving forward. I think it was a conflation, and I mean that in a good way, even though that's a negatively charged word, but between the installer and the version management stuff and NVM. So if you go and take a look on that version management repo, there was a lot of discussion that came around as to like what we're trying to accomplish, why we're trying to do it. And I was of the impression, a number of other people agreed that, we have this kind of installer story problem. We have all this really bespoke tooling in there, and it's just super fragile. So we started looking into like what could potentially be standardized as far as like what the installer and these various version management tools share. And then also a bit of a look into like what other tools we could be using. And Electron was kind of, the top that we were looking at. There is the unfortunate side effect of like, 100 megabyte plus bundle. Excuse me. Just to get it working. But these are things that we're looking into. So I think that it's probably of interest to the build group, since whatever is decided will have to be put into the infra. And,
yep.
I think it kind of falls under the build group in my own opinion, as far as the installer is concerned, and even the version management story, because that's all kind of part of tooling. The other one that's probably worth bringing up is the new debugger REPL. Have you two been following that issue?
Yep.
Cool, because there's some interesting discussion right now about how it should be embedded, whether or not it should be done like NPM, or whether or not it's done slightly differently. That's again something that would affect build. Just making sure we're aware of the discussion going on there.
Yeah, I think I mean, both of those are pretty active in terms of deciding on what to do. So I think once the path has been chosen, we should kind of open an issue at our place and see what how it affects us and what we need to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm actively monitoring the one, and I know there's been a discussion about Electron, but I haven't really engaged yet. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty reasonable.
So cool. I just added a link to the version management stuff. So if you want to add a link to the REPL discussion for people that wants to read it, that would be cool.
Yeah. Where did you add that link? In the...
It's your stand-up.
Okay, cool.
Okay, well, moving on to the agenda then. Just quickly looking through it, it is, I would say it's slightly, it's a lot of issues that's been around for a while. But the first one is file and directory names for downloads, issue number 515. So this is essentially a discussion, and I think once we move closer here, we want to bring Jordan on as well, Jordan Harband, the main developer of NVM. So this is more about figuring out how we name releases, how we can become more consistent. And I don't think there's been a lot of progress really since we last left this off. So is there anything you guys want to add to this, or should we just push it forward?
Not from me.
Okay. I'll just make a note that we're going to push this forward, and then we're just going to have to figure it out. I'll take it back to GitHub or whatever. And the next issue is number 484, which is a draft text for HSTS communication. So this is coupled with our unencrypted server, as well as making node.js HSTS only. Michael wrote a proposed text, which we kind of accepted, but in here I need to be adding a bit of information about the rsync situation, because if we enforce this on people, we also need to give them an alternative in terms of how they can access downloads of Node.js, and without necessarily having SSL or modern SSL, I guess would be the better way of putting it. So that's unfortunately on me, and I haven't really had time to look at it. So hopefully I can make more progress till next meeting, which will be in 3 weeks. I've actually set aside a couple of days during the holidays to work actively with the build group, so hopefully we can have something going. Does anyone else want to add something?
No, sounds good.
So,
Yeah, nothing to add over here.
Okay, cool. I'm just making some notes here while we go. Third one, the tab plugging issues on Jenkins 453. So the quick backstory is that the tab plugin is pretty much one of the main reasons why our Jenkins is excruciatingly slow. It is faster since we upgraded to Jenkins 2, but there are still a lot of 504s if I check the logs, which is not good, and 503s. Which means that Jenkins, the gist is essentially that every time you open a job page, you also open 20 or 30 jobs. And for each job, you might have 5 or 6 workers. And for each worker, you have a tab file, which then is parsed every time it's open. And if this just runs out of memory, which it does a lot, or it just gets GC'd out, you're going to look into a timeout. So the solution is to walk away from tap. And the way we do this is instead of walking away from it, we just write a converter. The idea was initially to try and do this from Jenkins master, but the problem is that it gets too complicated in terms of workflow from the jobs. So what we're doing instead is a simple Python tool we're going to install on all our slaves, or workers, sorry. The reason we chose Python is that because it's a main requirement for Ansible, which we use for orchestration. The tool is done. It's very rudimentary, but what remains to be done is just making sure it's on all our workers. And the reason it's not on all our workers just yet is because some of them, for instance, Debian 7, CentOS 5, they don't even have setup tools. And setup tools or disutils is nowadays not even released for those platforms. So I had to jump through some hoops to get that going, but we're almost there. We have it already on most of the workers, so there's just a few that needs to be completed. So that's also one thing I really want to focus on over this holiday. So I guess I'll just add a note that I'll do that as well. Johan will work on finalizing this until next meeting. Okay, great. And if anyone wants to help out, I have the project open sourced on my GitHub account, so github.com/jbergström. And it needs a bit of polish. And I think if other projects want to use this, we need to make the parser a bit more forgiving. So I just make assumptions on what we generate from our project. And I know that some people at IBM has been contacting me and opening issues. So I'm going to work with them and help on fixing that. So that's cool.
Cool. You can ping me. I should have some time to be able to put onto it.
Awesome. Awesome. I always wanted to see you write Python. Okay, so moving on to the fourth issue, which is rsync endpoint to mirror the releases, number 55. It's kind of a status quo as well. It is working. Unencrypted.node.js.org is up. We had some issues because we were looking at it while we had no issues with node.js.org because people were asking for a mirror. And the problem was that we recently changed our triple dub hosts. And the keys changed, which means that the host, when it tried to do the rsyncing, didn't really update. So I had to fix that. But now it's back and it's syncing every 15 minutes. So the endpoint at unencrypted.node.js.org should be working just fine, both through HTTP and through rsync. I guess one good point here, though, is that a user suggested that we should also do HTTPS from it. In case we actually need to treat it as a mirror, and I think that's a good point. So I'll look at doing that as well.
Johan, just a question building on that. For our actual infra, is there movement going right now to make our download page more redundant than it currently is?
Yeah, so me and Joao just had a quick chat before we went live, and I think you and me talked about it a week and a half ago. So the idea is that we first of all want to use Cloudflare to shield our downloads, to have them just serve it, so we don't have to. And what's holding us up there is pretty much that we need to fetch the logs from Cloudflare in order to keep our scripts that generates download statistics going. So that's something that we definitely need some help with. And last we spoke, you were pretty keen on looking at that. So that would be awesome. The second thing we want to do is set up a mirror. We already have the mirror at unencrypted.node.js.org. So my thought was that we could add it to Cloudflare, and then I'm not sure what kind of traffic routing you have available at their place when it comes to business or enterprise accounts. But my idea was to have them redirect traffic to there if it falls. And third and lastly, we are also exploring ways of setting up a mirror of the image or of the machine even at DigitalOcean, so we can distribute traffic between those two. We haven't really resolved how we do it yet, but it's a work in progress. And that is currently between me and Rod.
Quite cool.
But I think getting Cloudflare to serve it would, that would solve a lot of potential issues and obviously also failover. So that should be something we should be doing as quick as possible. I'll just make a note about it. Okay. So the last issue is issue 495, which is looking for issues for a good first contribution. And I don't think there's too much to say about that. I guess what we should do is keep it open and have people just come in and add things. And hopefully our viewers could perhaps have a look, and if they find something they can help out with, we have a good match.
I think we can take this off the agenda now.
Yeah, okay, I'll just remove it. But let's keep it open, and hopefully we can, have it as a dump of things where we can we can see a good first contribution. Do we have anything else we want to add to it, or to this issue? I know we have. I'm just trying to find his name. Michele from Italy.
Michele?
Yeah. So it's a good example of someone that started contributing through this. So it's great to see. I know he filed a PR just today about improving the Windows deployment through Ansible. So keep it coming, Michele. Michele, perhaps. Sorry. So that's the agenda. Do we have anything else we need to discuss? I guess one thing which I just want to bring up is that we are working on a post-mortem on what happened a week and a half ago with Node.js.org, and I feel like it's important that we communicate this to our community because it's pretty obvious that if Node.js.org goes down, a lot of third-party services also does. And we need to make sure that we maintain a certain amount of quality for the service. So we are currently preparing a shorter thing, but we need to figure out where we should post it as well. If we post it as a blog post on Node.js.org, or if we post it somewhere else. I'm not quite sure. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I think there should be, I mean, it depends on the length, right?
Yeah.
It seems like something that should be on node.js.org.
Okay. I guess we could always, we could do the short one and put a longer one in as a document or something more persistent in the build repo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else? Besides me talking all the time?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, Gibson, if you hear this, we're pretty disappointed with you, by the way. You've been chasing me for weeks to have a meeting now, and you don't even show up. So
I'll make sure that he knows about the disappointment.
okay, so the next meeting, I'll try to improve the frequency of the meetings, and let's try and cycle the open issues as well, so we get more stuff done. But the next meeting will be January 10th. So if I don't speak to you until then, have a great holiday and a happy New Year.
Thank you.
Okay. A good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.